mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to the Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. Wish we could do some free agency because Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery are still on the market. But the man that has plenty of opinions to share on the show that he hosts, Austin.
Man, the Dylan Cease trade definitely perks my interest because I don't know what I thought with trading away Juan Soto, they'd be a little bit of a retool like this year. They wouldn't make the playoffs, but when you trade for Dylan Cease, that's a major move. And I definitely think that now the Padres are almost certainly trying to make a playoff push, even though last year they failed to make it with arguably a better roster.
Yeah, and I think maybe they're doing a weird move. But yeah, I was shocked the Padres did it because after the Juan Soto trade, I was in similar thinking as you. I kind of thought Dylan Cease was going to be traded to the Rangers, and I wouldn't have hated that move. He's a good pitcher. Would have added depth as the Rangers are struggling with starting pitching. And the Rangers have a lot of prospects that I think they can part with and not feel it. It seems like the Padres dealt a lot of their prospects, and I'm just like, how is this going to affect your team? So we'll have to see. But yeah, man, that NL West, I believe there was a quote that was like, yeah, everyone's just coming to the NL West. You have the Diamondbacks who are in the World Series. Then, of course, you have Yamamoto, which storylines, Yamamoto seems to be playing pretty well for the Dodgers. So we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, Cease to the Padres, definitely. Because now you got Musgrove, you got Darvish, you got Cease. And that's not the order because Cease would probably be at the front. And then I'm not sure who the 4 and 5 are for the Padres.
What is his name? I'll look it up. Another team I want to talk about in the same division, though, is the Giants. I don't think we mentioned the Matt Chapman signing on our podcast, right?
Yeah, no, I don't think we did. I did text you, and I really love what they're doing. Matt Chapman's a great addition. We've talked about Robbie Ray. There is like weird stuff happening with like JD Davis and like management stuff for ownership and dealing with that. But yeah, I like that addition. Yeah, Matt Chapman, great defensively. It looks like I was looking at storylines. They're trying to have Marco Luciano. That's going to be the shortstop. That's the expected shortstop.
But they also signed Nick Ahmed to a minor league deal.
Nick Ahmed. Okay, yeah, he could play that too. So, yeah, the Giants are a sneaky team. They won't be sneaky for us, but people not listening.
A lot of people are not that high on the Giants. And I'm really confused because I've loved the moves they made.
Because they got that center fielder, Lee from, the KBO. KBO.
Yeah, I think it was the KBO.
KBO. Signed him to a big deal. They traded, I don't know what the Mariners were thinking, but they get Robbie Ray, they got Alex Cobb, Logan Webb. That is such a great 3. I'm trying to see who they got in. Oh, they got Jorge Soler. We've talked about it before. I like Patrick Bailey. I think he's a good catcher. Matt Chapman, because that's like a solid guy they can play every day. They were kind of doing the weird players by committee at different positions. Shortstop, I would have liked it if they brought back Crawford, but that relationship may have soured with the Correa flirtation stuff last year. I don't know how to describe it, where they were courting Correa and they would have had Correa if not for the deal falling through. So that may have soured. But yeah, I really like him. And we'll just have to see what happens. But yeah, and I still think the Diamondbacks are pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's going to be again one of the best divisions in baseball. We could see 4 teams all push for that top or the eight for the second spot because the Dodgers are probably going to run away with that, and then there'll be the Rockies at the very bottom again.
Yeah, Rockies are just terrible. And also, my condolences on Garrett Cole and that
Yeah,
injury.
he looks like he'll be out for 1 to 2 months, and I saw someone on a different podcast say that if Garrett Cole's out for the year, it's not next man up, it's next year up, and that's
Yeah,
100% right. But the problem is it can't be next year up because Juan Soto hasn't been extended. So Garrett Cole, please, if you need 2 months, if you want to be back in one, but it would be better if you took two. Just take 2 months. So we can survive without you during the regular season, especially early on. But postseason wise, we need our ace.
yeah, I think that's a great point. And I know this probably won't happen. Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery are still on the market. The Yankees said they aren't really interested. But why not? Like you mentioned, this year is a big year for the Yankees. Also, Judge has been dealing with injuries this
Yeah,
spring.
he played yesterday though. It was abdominal uh, discomfort. I think he's fine.
Yeah. So it seems like they're being precautionary, but Yankees can spend the money. And it also seems like Jordan Montgomery won't come to, won't, it's an unlikely reunion between the Rangers. But I think as long as this goes out, why not just call and be like, yo, let's just do a 1 year deal, like, and see something. But they probably don't want to do that. But there's no better offers coming. We're also talking about storylines to stay on the Rangers. I mentioned Wyatt Langford to you before. He has a 1.243 OPS. He has a 375 average, 462 OBP. He has 4 home runs, 2 were in 1 game. Now, this doesn't mean he's going to be AL MVP, but it is crazy just how amazing 2023 was for the Rangers. Of course, they won the World Series, but they got Wyatt Langford with the 4th overall pick, and he might the odds are probably higher of him making the opening day roster than missing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assumption, especially because the Rangers do need more depth.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to him not getting a DH because you have Wyatt Langford. You, of course, have Evan Carter, who also is doing well this spring, and he was amazing in the postseason. So he's on the roster. So that's why I was like, if they wanted to trade Duran, maybe Owen White, and other prospects to the White Sox for Cease, I wouldn't be opposed to it because, like, how else are you going to get playing time? So we'll just have to see. That's my big thing. I've been seeing stuff about relievers like Grant Anderson. I don't think has given up a run yet in spring training, and then you of course have Mark Church, Jack Leiter. But that's the thing with the Rangers. I think Langford would be huge for this team, and that's just insane. He hasn't even been in professional league for 1 year, and he's going to be on the could most likely be on the opening day roster. But then another thing for me was the Cardinals struggling with hitting home runs. I know they finally did get some home runs, but it's going to be tough if their pitching doesn't work out. They're going to need it. It might be another rough year.
Yeah, it's still too early to tell. Like Kevin and I both said in our "What does spring training mean?" or "What do you want to see from your team in spring training?" You just want to see some sort of hope. And while they haven't been great in spring, it's still spring. There's a lot of time for your team to get better and then make a good run of it during the regular season.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to talk about was I saw the Braves signed Adam Duvall, and I forgot another thing to add to the Mariners' confusing moves. Do you remember when they traded Jared Kelenic to the Braves?
Yep. That made no sense.
Yeah, well, and so I was like, oh, Kalenic's on the Braves, and they didn't return Eddie Rosario, so it looks like they're going to do a platoon with Duvall and Kalenic, but that seems like a really good option for the Braves.
I just don't. The Mariners, I don't understand anything that they did. It's just our MLB season predictions will reflect, or at least my predictions will reflect the questionable moves they made this year.
Yeah, it's just really weird. And you and I've talked about, I was like, I don't get the odds of the Mariners being higher than the Rangers, but that was a long time ago. So I know storylines. I think Soto was hitting really well, right, in spring?
Yeah, he has been, and so has a couple of other guys. I've liked how some of the Yankees players play, but again, it's just spring. It has to continue.
Yeah, of course. It is spring, but I think it's big progress from Wyatt Langford just seeing because he dominated in the minors last year. It was a short time, but he kept moving up. And Carter, we've seen what he's doing, so I would bring him up, and that just makes it a nasty outfield for the Rangers. And we'll just have to see. And it's looking like we're 2 weeks out of opening day. It looks like Snell or Montgomery, or even maybe both, could not be on a roster once
And we
opening day
discussed that.
happens.
We discussed
Yeah.
that. We
Yeah.
had a prediction. I my prediction was that at least one of them would not.
Yeah. And I think I was like, yeah, if it's going to be one, it's going to be Jordan Montgomery. But I just think it's one, something's on the shelf if we're referring to the pitchers. And we're like, well, this had a really good, like, Blake Snell had a good run. And if I can give him, like, hey, man, I'll give you 2-year deal, one with an opt out after the first year.
I said it again though. It's not money. It's term that is the problem. Almost certainly.
But right now, I think you take that deal because either,
Just for it to happen again next year though.
well, that's assuming if you're good, which a player should always assume.
But he
But
won his what else can Stell do? He won the Cy Young last year. Like if he does it again, what's the
yeah,
point of him just waiting?
hmm yeah, because didn't Bellinger got a deal with a bunch of opt outs?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I think if you're a team offering these guys, because then they'll be like, okay, if I have a great another year again, then I can get my big deal, and if not, I still get a nice deal. But you do bring up a good point with Snell.
Yeah. I it's different when it comes to pitchers versus position players. And I definitely believe that for this season, uh, it'll be big for whoever can get those guys if they decide to sign. Because at some point, you just have to look and be like, wow, he was, or for Jordan Montgomery's sake, he was so good in the playoffs last year. If we could just have that, we're that next tier team. Wouldn't it be crazy if they both went to the same team? If one team was just like, you know
It
what,
would
I'm
be
going to grab
crazy.
both.
Yeah. And if you're a team, like what happens if the Giants were like, let's call up Jordan Montgomery, or
Or
they could
Snell,
even go, yeah,
yeah,
let's call Snell and offer
he
him a
played in
deal.
California last year. Let's just call him up and see if he wants to stay in the state.
Yeah, and just be like, then you have the option of Logan Webb, Robbie Ray. You would have two Cy Young winners.
And then Logan Webb, who I'd argue is very close to that level. Alex Cobb was very good last year.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I definitely think there's a lot there for potential. And I'm just shocked that it's taking this long. Is it?
I know.
It has to be something with Scott Boris. It has to
Yeah.
be.
I think they just overplayed their hand, and teams are like, no, like I'm not doing it. And it seems like I would love it if Montgomery came back. I would just love it, just for the heck of it. But we'll have to see because I think they're being smart with their money, and they're being a little bit more restrictive. But we'll just have to see. But I just feel like a team's got to be like, yo, let's just do it and see if we can get the right deal, which I think they can. Especially if you're the Orioles too, why not just do it? Because if you're an AL team, you gotta assume you're facing the Dodgers if you make it to the World Series.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption.
And then if you're an NL team, okay, how can I beat the Dodgers so I can go to the World Series? Which brings up a lot. So we'll just have to see. And any final thoughts?
Nope.
That's all we got. Make sure you're checking out all our socials. We are doing the brackets are officially open as this episode is airing. Make sure you're following that. Password is write your story, capital W, capital Y, capital S. So see if you can beat us. You can win a liner to our show. And the video should be out tomorrow for actually in 2 more days. The 20th, March Madness predictions, our official bracket will be posted. So make sure you're following along with that. We have so much fun making this, and make sure to check out all the other content as we've been pushing that out. And thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.